They say revenge is a dish best served cold. But when my husband kissed that woman right in front of me just to watch me break, I didn't get cold. I got strategic. And 3 months later, I signed a contract that didn't just hurt him, it destroyed everything he ever built. If you've ever been betrayed by someone you loved, stay until the end. You'll want to see this. And hit that subscribe button because karma always collects, and this story is proof. My name is Simone, 34 years old, Black woman, marketing director at one of the biggest agencies in the city. For 8 years, I was married to Dalton, real estate mogul, charming as hell, and the kind of man who could walk into a room and own it without saying a word. We had the penthouse, the cars, the life everyone envied. Our Instagram looked like a fairy tale. Power couple goals, they'd comment, relationship inspiration. I'd smile at those comments, heart the posts, and pretend I didn't feel the coldness creeping into our bed every single night. Because here's the truth nobody talks about. You can have everything and still feel like you're drowning. Dalton stopped seeing me somewhere around year 6. I became part of the furniture, part of the brand. Mrs. Dalton Hayes, the elegant wife who showed up to galas in designer gowns and laughed at his jokes for the cameras. But behind closed doors, I was invisible. He'd come home at midnight, smelling like expensive cologne that I didn't buy him. He'd scroll through his phone at dinner, barely looking up when I spoke. And when I'd reach for his hand, he'd pull away like my touch burned him. I told myself it was stress. The business was growing. He was building an empire. I was supporting him like a good wife should. But deep down, in that quiet place where the truth lives, I knew. I knew something was wrong. I knew he was slipping away. I just didn't know how far gone he already was. I didn't know that men like Dalton don't just grow distant, they replace you. They find someone new to make them feel powerful, desired, alive. And they don't just leave quietly, no. They make sure you know exactly how replaceable you are all along. That realization, it came soon, and it came bloody. It started with small things. A lipstick stain on his collar that wasn't my shade, perfume lingering on his shirt, something floral and sweet, nothing like the warm vanilla I wore. Credit card statements with charges from hotels I'd never been to, restaurants we'd never visited together. At first, I questioned myself. Maybe I was paranoid. Maybe marriage was just like this after 8 years. Distant, routine, a little broken around the edges. But then I found the receipts. Jewelry I never received, flowers I never got, and something inside me cracked wide open. I confronted him in our kitchen on a Tuesday night. He was pouring himself bourbon, loosening his tie like he'd conquered the world. I slid the hotel receipt across the marble counter between us, my hands shaking, but my voice steady. Want to explain this? He didn't even flinch, just glanced at it, then at me, like I was an annoying inconvenience. It was a business trip, Simone. You're being paranoid. Paranoid? That word felt like a slap. I slammed my hand on the counter, the wine glass next to me rattling. Don't gaslight me, Dalton. Don't you dare make me the villain in whatever sick story you're writing. He just laughed, this cold, dismissive sound that made my blood boil. You're spiraling. This is exactly why we're falling apart. You're too insecure to trust me. But I wasn't insecure. I was right. I hired a private investigator the next morning. 3 days later, the envelope arrived. Photos, timestamps, locations. My husband with her, Lennox, 28 years old, white, blonde, his new junior business partner. They were at lunch, holding hands, at a hotel, her head on his shoulder, at a bar, his lips on her neck. I sat in my car outside our building, staring at those photos until my vision blurred. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tight, my knuckles went white. Mascara streaked down my face, and I couldn't breathe, couldn't think, couldn't understand how the man I'd built a life with could do this, could replace me so easily, like I was nothing. That night, I went home ready for war, but I wasn't ready for just how cruel he could really be. I walked into our bedroom and threw the photos on the bed. He was changing for some meeting, and when he saw them, he didn't panic, didn't apologize. He just stared at me with this look, cold, detached, like I was bothering him. So what, Simone? So what? You're having an affair and that's all you have to say? He buttoned his shirt slowly, deliberately. Yeah, I am. And honestly, she makes me feel alive. You just exist. You're background noise. I screamed then, really screamed. 8 years of love, of loyalty, of building him up when he had nothing, and I was background noise? I built this life with you. I stood by you when you were nobody. He stepped closer, his voice dropping to a venomous whisper. And you're replaceable. She's exciting. She's grateful. You're just bitter. I should have left then, should have walked away. But 2 weeks later, he insisted I attend his company's annual charity gala, said it would look bad if I wasn't there. I knew what he was doing. I knew it was a trap. But some stubborn part of me refused to hide. So I showed up in a black gown, head high, diamonds glittering, looking like the queen I still was. And then he walked in with her, Lennox on his arm, smiling. He introduced her to investors, to colleagues, as his business partner and close friend. The room buzzed with whispers. Everyone knew. Everyone was watching me, waiting for me to break. And then he did it. Right there in front of 200 people, cameras flashing, he pulled her close and kissed her. Slowly, deliberately, his eyes open, staring directly at me. The room went silent. My heart stopped, and before I knew what I was doing, I was walking toward him. My heels clicked against the marble floor like gunshots. I reached him, and my hand connected with his face so hard the sound echoed through the ballroom. His head snapped to the side. Gasps rippled through the crowd. He touched his cheek, then laughed. Actually laughed. There she is, the angry black woman everyone warned me about. I didn't cry. Not there. I turned and walked out, cameras flashing, whispers chasing me, my world shattering with every step. I checked into a hotel that night and cried until I couldn't breathe. For 48 hours, I was broken, completely shattered. He'd won. He'd humiliated me, replaced me, and made me feel like nothing. But on the third day, my phone rang. It was Rhett, a former colleague, venture capitalist, someone I'd worked with years ago. He'd been at the gala, seen everything. Simone, I'm sorry for what he did to you, but I also know something you don't. Dalton's been lying to his investors. His company is bleeding money, and if you want to stop crying and start fighting, I can help you destroy him. That phone call changed everything. Rhett sent me documents, financial records, emails. Dalton had been embezzling funds, falsifying reports, keeping his company afloat with smoke and mirrors. His investors were already nervous, one bad quarter away from pulling out. And here's the thing nobody knew. I still owned 40% equity in his company, a clause from when we started together, back when he actually valued me. He'd never bothered to remove my name. Big mistake. Rhett and I built a plan. We documented every shady deal, every lie, every missing dollar. Then we approached Dalton's biggest investors privately with an offer. Pull your funding from him, reinvest in my new consulting firm, and I'll show you exactly what he's been hiding. One by one, they agreed, because business is business, and Dalton had become a liability. 3 weeks later, Dalton called an emergency board meeting. His investors were rattled, asking questions he couldn't answer. And that's when I walked in, unannounced, uninvited. The look on his face was priceless. What the hell are you doing here? I sat down calmly, crossing my legs, placing a folder on the table. I'm here as a shareholder, Dalton, and I have concerns about how my investment is being managed. Then I opened the folder and slid documents across the table. Bank statements, forged signatures, hidden accounts. The room exploded, investors shouting, Dalton's face going red. "You vindictive?" He lunged toward me, but security held him back. "You're trying to ruin me." I stood, straightened my blazer, and looked him dead in the eye. "No, baby, you ruined yourself. I'm just making sure everyone knows it." Within an hour, 3 investors pulled their funding. Within a week, his company collapsed. And Lennox, she blocked his number the moment his bank account hit 0. 2 months after Dalton's company filed for bankruptcy, I signed a $7 million deal with Rhett's investment firm, my own consulting firm, my own office, my own empire. And the building I chose, the same one Dalton used to lease, except now I owned it, bought it outright with my first round of funding. Poetic justice tastes sweeter than I ever imagined. Dalton showed up at my office on a Thursday afternoon. Security called, asking if they should let him up. I said yes. I wanted to see him, needed to see what rock bottom looked like on a man who once thought he was untouchable. He walked in looking hollow, cheap suit, tired eyes, that arrogance completely gone. "Simone, please, I made a mistake. I love you. We can fix this. We can start over." I didn't even look up from the contract I was signing, just kept writing, my signature smooth and confident. "You taught me something valuable, Dalton. When someone shows you they're replaceable, you replace them. Security will show you out." 6 months later, my company is thriving. I'm in therapy, healing the parts of me he tried to break, building real friendships, real connections. I wake up every morning in a home that's mine, filled with peace he could never give me. And Dalton? He's working some mid-level sales job, living in a studio apartment, scrolling through old photos of a life he destroyed with his own hands. People ask me if I regret what I did, if I went too far. But here's the thing. He didn't kiss her because he loved her. He kissed her to hurt me, to make me feel small, powerless, forgettable. But pain is temporary. Power is a choice, and I chose to take mine back. Not with tears, not with begging, but with a signature that reminded him and the world that I was never the one who needed him. He needed me. And by the time he figured that out, I was already gone. So here's what I learned. Betrayal will break you, but only if you let it. The people who try to destroy you are banking on you staying broken. Don't give them that satisfaction. Rise, rebuild, and when they come crawling back, make sure you're too busy building your empire to even notice. Because the best revenge isn't hatred, it's indifference, it's success. It's becoming so unbothered by their existence that they become a footnote in your story. And trust me, that's a chapter they'll never recover from. If this story reminded you that you're stronger than anyone who tried to break you, hit that like button. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe, because next week's story is even more satisfying. See you then.